Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about creating interactive presentations using either PowerPoint or Google Slides. I happen to be using Google Slides. I tend to do most of my things in Google Docs these days, but it works both ways. You can use a similar process with whichever program you decide to use. Normally when we think of slideshows like this, we think of them as in a linear fashion where you might be on the first page, then you would click to go through the second page, three exactly. And so you're going through your presentation in a linear fashion. And many times that's appropriate, but there are other times that maybe you want to have the viewer decide where they want to go. In that case, you're going to be creating what's called an interactive presentation. And in this case, we need to make some action buttons to let that happen. So what I'm going to do here is I'm on the home main menu page here, and I'm going to go up to the shapes, and I'm going to grab a shape that I'm going to use as my button. So right here, I'm just going to draw a shape. We'll make it like this right here. It turns white. I'm going to double click into this button and say page 1, because this button is going to take us to page 1. I might make it look a little prettier. I'll bold it up, give it the same font, and center it. And so I know that when I click on this button, I'm going to want the people to go to page 1. Well, I need to do the same thing for each of the other pages, so I'm going to make a couple more here. So I'm going to go Control C, which is copy, then Control V, and you'll notice I've made a copy of my button. So right here, I'm going to make this one go to page 2, and I'll do the same thing. I'm copying again, and this one's going to go to page 3. And we'll do one more. And this one's going to go to page 4. I'm using those red lines to kind of line things up and make it look nice. So now that I have the buttons, I have to actually make them actionable or make them be able to do something. So what I will do next is I'll click on the button that's going to go to page 1, and I'll go up here to the chain link because I'm going to insert a link. Now normally this is where you would put a website or something like that, but you don't always have to do that. You'll notice that down here there's a drop-down arrow that says slides in this presentation. Well, since we want that to go to page 1, I'm going to go down to page 1 here. You'll notice that it's a slide 2 even though it's page 1 because it truly is the second slide in the presentation. So I'm going to do page 1, click apply. I'm going to go to page 2, I'll do the same thing. I'll click the chain link and we'll have this one go to page 2, apply. And I could also do it this way too. If I have that highlighted and do insert link, either way it gets you to the same place. Doesn't matter. We're going to have this one go to slide 3. Oh, that says page 2. We don't want to go there. I'm going to close that up. I want to go down to page 3 here, apply. And we'll do the same thing here, insert link. Like I said, it doesn't matter which way you go, it all works the same. This one's going to go to page 4, apply. So now when I actually go to do my presentation here, you'll notice that when I click on page 1, it takes me to page 1. Now the interesting thing that's a little bit difficult on an interactive presentation is you'll notice there's no way to get back to that main home screen. I basically have to work my way back through the presentation, which isn't a big deal if you're on page 1, but let's say you're on page 4, and if you want to go back to the beginning, you're going to click through your whole slideshow presentation, and that's not really the best thing to do. So what do? Well, we need to create a home button. So I'm going to go to page 1 right here, and I'm going to create a home button. Go to my shapes here. This time I'm going to use an arrow just to be a little bit different, and I'm going to have my arrow be down in this corner. Just going to draw out my arrow. Let's see, that looks good right there. And again, I'm going to type in it, but this time I'm going to say home. And again, I'm going to make it Meriwether since that's the one. Oh, you notice it goofed it up a little bit. No big deal. I could either make my button bigger or I could just go down to font. In this case, I'll go down to font 12 and there's my button. So now I have my button, but I still have to link it, right, to go back to home. So while it's being highlighted, I go to link. In this case, I'm going to go to the home page, hit apply. And now let's see what happens if I present this. I'm on page 1, but let me click on my home button and boom, I'm back on menu button so I can go back and forth. Now, instead of doing that for every single page, now that you know this button is going to do the same thing, what I would do is just go ahead and highlight that button, go Control C on your keyboard on a Windows, that means copy. I'm going to go to slide 3 here and go Control V as in Victor. That means paste. And you'll notice I put it in the exact same place. I'll do it again here. And one more Control V. And now, no matter where I'm at, I'm on page 2. I can go back to home. Page 3, go back to home. Page 4, back to home. So that is how you use action buttons while creating an interactive presentation. The next video will talk a little bit about how you can lock the navigation so that people go only where you want them to go.